Hey, I'll see you in Rutherford, New Jersey, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Davenport, Iowa, Las Vegas, Chicago, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Anita Krishna. Anita Krishna is a broadcaster, podcaster, and former Control Room newscast director of Canada's Global News Network. After repeatedly questioning the network's refusal to apply basic journalistic standards to the mainstream COVID narrative, she was fired by Global News on January 18, 2022. Wow, good for you. If you're going to be fired, get fired for something that great. She now publishes on Substack at substack.com/@Anita808. Anita 808, and she's here with us live today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thrilled about it. Now, I brought her in today because it's amazing. You know, I've been to Canada a couple times, but I grew up thinking that Canada was the place. And maybe I had that impression because I knew a lot of people during the Vietnam War fled to Canada. That's where they went. And I was like, okay, Canada must have it. And then I also keep praising Canada because of your healthcare system, where we don't have a nationalized healthcare. But it seemed, everything I've ever learned about Canada, you had a better healthcare system than we provide here in the United States. And so over the course of the last, I would say 5 years or so, Canada kept coming on to my radar, especially during, when we saw I kept hearing stuff about Justin Trudeau and reading stuff about Justin Trudeau and the way he dealt with the truckers was horrifying. So thank you. Thank you, fellow human being, for being here today and Canadian. And let's get right to it. Let's talk about Justin Trudeau.
Sure.
If you think Biden has troubles, just look at Trudeau. All right. Look at this. This is from Politico, Ottawa. Justin Trudeau is running out of time. He has trailed in the polls by double digits. Sound familiar? For nearly a year. And the outlook for the once popular prime minister is so grim that some old guard liberals have been grumbling that maybe he should just step down and give someone else a shot. Okay. To turn it around and win a fourth term, Trudeau has less than 17 months before he must hold an election and face off against an ascendant Conservative Party and its firebrand populist leader, Pierre Poilievre. How do I pronounce it?
Poilievre.
I was so close. Poilievre. Trouble is, nothing he's tried so far to improve his standing has worked. Why? Maybe because he's bad on so many issues. Trudeau's difficulties, to some extent, mirror those of President Joe Biden and some Western European leaders facing populist rage in a world still struggling to shake off the inflation and lingering anger over pandemic lockdowns. No kidding.
Yeah.
The speculation over whether Trudeau might step down at this point remains just that, with neither the prime minister nor any of his aides or allies saying he has any intention of throwing in the towel. If anything, the prime minister shows signs he's energized by the coming confrontation with Poilievre, who has harnessed and stoked political frustration by telling Canadians their country is broken and it's all Trudeau's fault. That seems like a pretty strong campaign. All right. So this is interesting. You shared this clip with me, and I'm going to play it right now. Trudeau brags. Here we go.
Now, you sometimes hear about liberal bias in the media these days, how they're constantly letting our government off the hook for no good reason. Frankly, I think that's insulting. It's clear that they let us off the hook for a very good reason, because we paid them $600 million.
I can't believe he said
what,
that out loud.
Anita?
Yeah.
What?
Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for saying all those great things about Canada, because we are a great country. We're like America light. And a lot of people did flee to come up here from Vietnam because we didn't enforce the draft. At that time we believed in humanity and choice, and we believed in like healthcare. So if you don't have any money, you get healthcare here. You can go see a doctor, right? Or, because we have MSP, the medical services plan, whatever. That's the way it should be. It shouldn't be that you break your leg and all of a sudden you got a $5,000 bill. I don't even understand that. So I've never understood that about the States, right? Like, that's crazy. Yeah, and a lot of people, like when Trudeau was first coming around, were like, look at him, he's got a good head of hair, he's kind of handsome, he's articulate, he doesn't seem to have any scandal, although He does. He does. If you look back at his history, he does. But he seemed like, because we don't have kings and queens. We don't have like Meghan and Harry and Kate and who's she married to? Prince William and all that. We don't have the president and the first lady. Like, we don't have that kind of thing, whether you like them or don't like them. Mind you, I don't even know what the first lady does, but we don't have any star power. So when we had him, it seemed to be like, oh, look at this guy. It was star power. But the things that he has done into this country are so numerous to name, but that we can't even count all the horrible things that are going on and how people feel about it. But based on that clip, this is like 2019. How does he say this proudly and with a straight face that he gave all the media that much money? So, CTV, CBC, Global News, newspapers, radio, they all took a portion of this buyout. So what do you do when someone sponsors you? You don't put down your sponsor, whether it's a coffee company or soap or whatever. It's the best soap you've ever had. It's the best coffee you've ever had. And that's what we do with Justin Trudeau. He's the best. And what that does is, that's how the liberal media paints him, or mainstream media, right? But to give $600 million is disgusting, because we're never going to report as we should. Every single headline will have liberal bias to favor him.
Are you saying $600 million actually compromises the journalistic integrity of the broadcasting networks? How does that happen?
Yeah, how does that happen? And you know what? Like I said before, the workers, we don't know. Nobody gives me extra money for a newscast, but it all gets filtered down from above, right? Like we don't know what happens. I got to say, I was just part of the crew. I was a director, right? But the people at the top, they know. They have their directives. They have their orders. And another thing that I just found out about this money is that we have a big union here, Unifor, and that was my union at Global. And they never supported me when they were giving me such a hard time. Like the nurses, they don't get support from their union. And I was like, my union can't stand me. Like they don't feel anything for me, that I'm getting fired because we're not reporting things that have now come to be true. It's been 4 years. What was something that I was wrong about? Come and show me. And why doesn't my union support me? I paid my union dues there for 25 years, and Unifor doesn't give a shit about me. And then I found out that Unifor is also getting some of this government money. Like Unifor is on the committee which oversees which media gets funding. It's so disgusting. That's why all this stuff is happening. All this back channel nonsense, all this stuff. Okay, so Unifor is on a committee that oversees which media gets funding.
Right.
And also, when you do stuff like this, it enables our prime minister to rig the election. Right? So when COVID happened and everybody was all scared, what did he do? He gave you money. Did you guys get money in the States? You did, right? Like money every month? Did you, like when COVID was happening?
What money? What, to help the people out? Did the people get money every month? No.
Oh no.
They got like, I know businesses were able to apply for some funding, but individuals like Misha were people that. Okay, so there was a certain guarantee of $600 a week for some people, but it would fluctuate. But it was certainly, for the most part, the working class people struggled. It was desperate situations.
Burger place, and the burger place closed down because of COVID or whatever, or like a store, a jewelry store or something, you don't get money. You might not get money, right? Like as in the US. Well, over here you did. And everybody got $2,000 a month. Okay? And so that was like, some people were like, that was more money than they'd make if they worked at the jewelry store or the button factory or wherever you work, right? So people were like, oh, damn. Even I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty nice of the government to give you money. So everybody got the CERB, $2,000 a month here in Canada. And then, boom, he calls an election. And then you're like, whoa, he's awesome. I'm going to vote this guy back in. Look how well he's handling COVID. That's what he did. Buys the media, gives you this money, and I think it just by default helps to put him back in power. And so that's what happened there, and now here we are, and now you have to pay taxes on that money, right? He gave money to businesses too, and now they're asking for the money back.
Well, similarly in the United States, when you get unemployment, you have to pay taxes on that unemployment, which is always a big shock because you're unemployed and you're like, I got to pay taxes on stuff that I'm okay. So do you we're going to go to another segment in a moment, but based on people that you know in your community, do you see, have you noticed, or are people still big supporters of Trudeau? Or
No, not at all. There is so much hatred towards him. You can drive a couple of blocks and then see a bumper sticker, F Trudeau, because of, like how he had handled everything. He kind of like, almost like a groomer does, where they get you in the beginning. They're so charming and I like you. And, oh, there's COVID and here's some money. Love me. And then you tick the box for your ballot and you go, well, I'm voting Liberal. And then now when we're like, people are getting sick and there's no informed consent and my business closed down and my grandmother had a funeral I couldn't go to and I couldn't go to my own graduation and I wasn't allowed to hug my grandchildren and we can't have dinner and they keep, I lost my job. Now we're like, the truckers stood up and said, this is insane. And then that's what started his downfall.
Hey, I'll see you in Rutherford, New Jersey, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Davenport, Iowa, Las Vegas, Chicago, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.